To all honorable resource persons, board of director, and managers of SEAMEO RECFON, respectable participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and best wishes to us all. Welcome to the Southeast Asia Nutrition Goes to School NGTS second sessions with the topic School Feeding Programs. My name is Safiah Md Yusuf. I'm honored to be your master ceremony for today's webinar. The school-based approach has been highly advocated to prevent nutritional problems among children, so that SEAMEO RECFON commit to launch NGTS in 2016 that has benefited 4,000 schools teachers in Indonesia, the Philippines, Myanmar, Timor-Leste, Malaysia, and so on. In order to support all individuals stay updated, the NGTS program is implemented by online training and seminars since 2017, so that it is able to accommodate participants in the spread by countries, especially during pandemic situations. This webinar series contains of 4 thematic sessions that invite academia, researchers, practitioners, and policymakers who are responsible to delivering the best practice and lesson learned in the implementations of school-based nutrition and health program, especially in Southeast Asian countries. The webinar series will feature 4 thematic sessions that will focus on the first one that we already had in the October 4th in the school-based nutrition promotions. The second one that we have today is with the topic school feeding program. The third session is the health school canteen, and the fourth session is the school garden and wash program. Before we go to the next agenda, I would like to remind rules of the NGTS webinar. 1. Participants are expected to enter the YouTube channel on time. 2. The use of headphones is recommended. 3. At the end of the sessions, participants are expected to fill out the evaluation form as the proof of attendance. 4. The certificates will be given to the participant who completed the evaluation form. 5. The link to the evaluation form will be shared at the prior of the end of the sessions. 6. The certificates will be available 2 weeks after the webinar, and for further information, please visit SEAMEO RECFON website and social media regularly. 7. Be sure to subscribe and like SEAMEO RECFON YouTube channel and follow our other social media accounts. Before we enter the first session, I will read out also the agenda for this morning as follows. The first agenda is the opening sessions. The second agenda is opening remark by Pak Muhtarudin Mansur MD PhD. The third agenda is introductions of Associate Professor Dr. Safiah Md Yusuf from International Medical University Malaysia as our today's moderator. The fourth agenda is webinar delivered by 4 distinguished speakers from Malaysia, Japan, Indonesia with discussion sessions after all presentations. And the last agenda is closing. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are entering the webinar sessions, we invite you to pay respect to the SEAMEO colors as well as gain more understanding of our organization by watching the following video.
promising future will rise to the call of the times and create a stronger tomorrow. Let's start to make a difference, teaching everyone to learn through science, health, and technology. We will share our expertise by promoting knowledge and policies. We can build a better world. Let us take a step for our visions alone, making future works for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. We'll achieve our goals through partnership, creating opportunities. By working hand in hand, we can accomplish all our dreams. For a better quality of life is now within our reach. Let us take a step for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. Let us take a step for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. Building the future is our legacy. At SEAMEO,
Building the future is SEAMEO's legacy. We hope that this webinar series will also be one of SEAMEO RECFON's legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening remarks delivered by Director of SEAMEO RECFON, Mr. Mokhtaruddin Mansur, MD, PhD, to give his remark. Pak Mukhtar, time is yours.
Well, thank you, Mbak Sylvie, for giving me opportunity to deliver the welcoming speech to all of the participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all. The school-based approach has been highly efficacious as the setting to contribute to the prevention of the vicious cycle of the nutritional problems by promoting good nutrition behavior as part of the school activities. In relation with the today webinar themes, in terms of school feeding program, the main objective is educating nutrition and health. And for some area with the food security issues, this program is very meaningful to fulfill people's daily nutrition requirements. Besides that, the school feeding program is also effective to build student characters, including washing hands and praying before meal, and also doing queuing and being together. This program has benefited over 4,000 school teachers and related educators in Indonesia. Meanwhile, some initiation efforts in Southeast Asian countries are underway. This year, SEAMEO RECFON initiates the first Southeast Asian NGTS webinar series that will bring together practitioners from both education and health sectors from Southeast Asian region and beyond. The current pandemic situation entails the need to keep updated while adopting new learning and teaching methods suitable to current available resources which vary across socioeconomic, political strata. This webinar aims to provide a forum to share and discuss best practices and lessons learned in the implementation of school-based nutrition and health programs. The webinar series will be conducted in October, November, and feature fit 4 thematic sessions. We have got the first session of webinar that has been conducted on last October 7, 2020 with the theme on nutrition promotion. Today, we will be having the second session with highlights school feeding program, specifically in Malaysia. We have Associate Professor Dr. Safiah Md Yusuf from International Medical University that will be the moderator, and speakers, Mrs Ainan Nasrina Ismail, B.Sc from Minister of Health Malaysia. And Indonesia, Mr. Djoko Stio Sudjatmoko, Magister Accountants from Minister of Education and Cultures Indonesia. And Japan, we have Prof Namiko Adachi from Nagoya University. And specifically from SEAMEO RECFON, we will share our experience through the presentation of Dr. Luh Ade Ari Wiradnyani. Thank you for all your support in this webinar. Based on the last evening data, I got some registration. I warmly welcome to the 774 registrants from 8 countries in Southeast Asia and beyond. Brunei, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Pakistan, Philippines, and Thailand. I wish you a great learning experience in this webinar session. We hope that the information sharing you gain from this webinar will further be shared to your colleges and students and stimulate ideas for its application in your daily life and work. I thank the coordinators, Dr. Judias Tuti Februartanti, and all the committee members of this webinar series for their hard work. And of course, the Ministry of Education and Cultures, Government of Indonesia, for providing support for this webinar. I wish you all a very successful session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah. Back
Thank
to
you.
Selfie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Mutarudin, for the opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, to start the core of the second session of Southeast Asian Nutrition Goes to School NGTS webinar for school feeding program topics, I would like to introduce Professor Dr. Safiah Md Yusuf from International Medical University Malaysia as our moderator for these sessions. Allow me to read Professor Safiah's biography. Professor Safiah graduated the PhD of Nutrition from University of Southampton in 2000. She gained her Master of Community Health from University of Queensland in 1980. She graduated her bachelor degree in psychology from University of Manchester in 1976. She also joined epidemiology course in Imperial College London, and she also certified SME business counselor. Professor Safiah has various working experience as associate professor in International Medical University, University Technology Mara, program or head of department in University Technology Mara. She worked as deputy director at Family Health Development Division, Ministry of Health, Putrajaya. She also experienced work as professional in Kuala Lumpur, Terengganu, and Selangor. Professor Safiah has numerous publications and actively supervised undergraduate, master degree, and PhD students. Professor Safiah awarded as Ahli Mangku Negara in 2002, Excellent Services Award from Ministry of Health Malaysia in 2003, Fellow of Nutrition Society in 2005, Excellent Service Award in 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Safiah Md Yusuf.
Thank you, Selvi, for your kind introduction. Good morning, dear friends and colleagues. Assalamualaikum. The topic of our webinar this morning is something close to our heart. Many of us have had children, and they all had been to schools where they spend hours or more learning or doing school activities. Therefore, we must realize the importance of providing good and nutritious foods to our school children. They are our future leaders and future scientists. We want our future generations to be healthy and productive, to be able to contribute to the development of our countries. And the school feeding program is probably one of the earliest nutrition intervention programs implemented in our country. At least in Malaysia, it started in the mid-1970s under the Applied Food and Nutrition Program, and later in the late 1970s came the Supplementary Feeding Program in schools. And I'm sure these programs have faced many challenges. One example is the recent COVID-19 pandemic that has disrupted everything at every level, from individuals to organizations such as schools, to governments and nations. How have they overcome these challenges? Well, friends and colleagues, we are indeed fortunate to have with us today 4 nutrition leaders who will share their vast experiences in dealing with the nutrition problems among school children, the school feeding programs in their respective countries, and how they have implemented these programs during the COVID-19 pandemic and the lessons learned. For us, the speakers today are Mrs Ainan Nasrina Ismail from Malaysia, Mr. Djoko Stio Sudjatmoko from Indonesia, Professor Namiko Adachi from Japan, and Dr. Luh Ade Ari Wiradnyani from Indonesia. I will introduce each speaker with a little bit of their background before their respective presentation. And dear friends and colleagues, may I remind you that those who are present in the webinar today, if you have any questions to any of the speakers, please write in the Google link form available in the link given to you. And please make your questions or opinion brief and clear. So without further delay, I would like to invite the first speaker to begin her presentation, Ms. Ainan Nasrina Ismail. Ms. Ainan is a Principal Assistant Director at the Nutrition Division, Ministry of Health Malaysia, Putrajaya. She is currently leading the Nutrition for Children and adolescence sector in the division. She is responsible for the planning, managing, monitoring, and evaluating the implementation of children and adolescents nutrition activities. She collaborates with other agencies such as the Ministry of Education Malaysia and other institutions with early childcare education. Ainan, during her 13 years of working at the ministry level, she has been involved in the development of national nutritional guidelines such as the Malaysian Dietary Guidelines 2010 and the Malaysian Dietary Guidelines for Children and Adolescents 2013. Early in her career, Ms. Ainan had working experience as a nutritionist at the district level in the Northern State Police. So friends and colleagues, please welcome Ms. Ainan Nasrina Ismail.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Safiah, Madam Moderator. Assalamualaikum, good morning, selamat pagi to all the participants. First of all, I would like to congratulate to SEAMEO RECFON for organizing this excellent webinar series, even though we are still in the pandemic. Can I have the slide, please? Okay, so my sharing today is on school feeding programs in Malaysia. And as an outline for the my presentation today, next slide, please. I would like to bring you to my sharing session today, and I will give some information on national education system and health and nutrition related problems among school children in Malaysia and its potential risks, about school-based food and nutrition policy that are available in the Ministry Malaysia, and we can explore more on the programs that related to school feeding and how does the program been implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic, and what are the lessons learned from the school feeding programs and some take-home messages. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Malaysia is at the center of the Southeast Asia region. It consists of 16 states, and it is estimated that the population of Malaysia is 32.6 million in 2019, and with the annual population growth rates at 0.6%. Next slide, please. Okay, education in Malaysia for preschools up to secondary level is under the purview of Ministry of Education. However, on top of that, there are several government agencies such as Ministry of Defence, Ministry of Integration, MARA is under the Rural Development Ministry, and KEMAS are also offering public education system in the country. And besides that, there are also private school, international school, and expectorate schools in Malaysia under the custodian of Ministry of Education. And as a brief information, children in Malaysia begin their education as early as 4 years old. And once the child reaches the age of 7 years old, he will go to the primary school for 6 years. And then he will attend the secondary level education for another 5 years. Okay, based on the data analysis, we have a national survey that conducted regularly. So based on the National Health and Mobility Survey that was conducted in 2017, it focused on the health and nutrition of the adolescents. So based on this study, Malaysia are still facing the double burden of malnutrition. 1 in 3 school children in Malaysia is overweight or obese. And recent findings from National Health and Mobility Survey that was conducted in 2019 revealed that 30% of women at reproductive age are anemic. And what is more worrying is that 1 in 5 children under the age of 5 years are stunted. And these kids are having a greater risk to become obese during school age and in their later life. And based on NHMS 2072, we found that 70% of the school children skip their breakfast, and 75% of them do not consume adequate fruits and vegetables. And 1 in 3 of the students consume carbonated drinks at least once a day, and they are physically inactive. In order to achieve the nutritional well-being of the population, the National Nutrition Policy was gazetted in 2013. So the strategies identified in this policy was then translated into the National Plan of Action for Nutrition in Malaysia. And now we are in NPAM, we call it NPAM 3, that was due in 2025. So in NPAM 3, there are 12 strategies that underline under this National Plan of Action. And out of that, 5 strategies are focusing on school children. Okay, the collaboration between Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education and other stakeholders has started as early as 1970s. School-based nutrition program covers preschoolers to adolescents. Nutrition promotion, including the integration of nutrition component into the curriculum, are being carried out from preschools, primary, and at secondary levels. And besides that, kitchen garden program has been introduced at preschools level to expose the children on homegrown farming and to instill fruits and vegetables consumption since at early age. School-based nutrition program also involve school communities' participations. The teachers and canteen operators have the opportunity for healthy catering courses, and parents are also empowered on healthy eating through a program named Cara Hidup Anda Terbaik or Sihat. School-based nutrition programs such as school feeding are being recognized to bring benefits to the children. Many studies have shown that school feeding can result in increased enrollment and attendance at school, especially among the vulnerable groups. So in Malaysia, school feeding starts from preschool. Standard menus at government's preschools were developed at national or at the implementation level to ensure the quality and quantity of food served to the children meet the nutritional requirement of the children. So the preschool children who are attending the public preschools will be provided with 2 meals, and this meal is fully subsidized by the government. Since 2011, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health has restrict the accessibility and availability of unhealthy foods in school by publishing the guide, Healthy School Canteen Guides. And because of the alarming trend of obesity, a proposal has been brought up under the policy to combat obesity. Unhealthy foods and drinks are recommended to be banned in the school canteen. And this option will give huge impact to reduce the prevalence of obesity and malnutrition because it involves more than 10,000 schools. So resulting to these policy options, in 2017, the existing school canteen guides that was published in 2011 was revised and outlined only 2 categories of foods that are allowed and not allowed to be sold in school canteen. And this initiative facilitates to create the healthy eating environment in schools and to ensure the compliance of this healthy school canteen. Continuous monitoring and guidance are being given by our nutritionists and MoH staff. Okay, the school feeding program in Malaysia started in 1970s with the introduction of rancangan makanan tambahan. It is an integrated effort carried out in conjunction with the nutrition and health programs in primary schools. In 1974, the RMT was carried out by the Selangor state government under the Applied Food and Nutrition Program in one district, in Hulu Langat district. And soon after, this program was extended in all districts in Selangor. And in 1976, the Malaysian government formally initiated RMT in conjunction with a pilot project of the National AFNP under the Prime Minister's Department. And in 1979, the program, RMT program, was extended in every state in Malaysia under the Ministry of Education. In 1980, the Veterinary Department initiated supplementation of milk to selected schools. In 3 years later, the school milk program was launched, and in 1995, the school milk program was expanded nationwide. The Supplementary Feeding Program or Rancangan Makanan Tambahan RMT is a food aid program and funded by the government. The objective of RMT is to improve health and nutritional status of school children, especially those from hardcore poor family, through a provision of a wholesome and balanced meal. A part of that, this program also aims to improve eating habits and to prevent hunger among the vulnerable school children so that the children can stay focused in class. RMT is targeted to primary school children from hardcore poor family, children with special needs, and school children from orang asli or Penan schools, indigenous schools, also eligible to participate into this program. So there are 20 options of menus that were developed at national level, and the school teachers will choose 5 menus per week alternately, and taking into account the availability of foods, including local produce and the children's preferences. The children will enjoy their meals before the school begins. The objective of school milk program or program Susu Sekolah is to improve health and nutritional status of the school children for their optimal physical growth while encouraging milk consumption since young. Similar to RMT, this program also targeted to primary school children from vulnerable groups. In this program, the student will be provided with 2 boxes of milk twice a week, and to prevent from the risk of food poisoning, milks given should be consumed at school under the supervision of the teacher. This program is also fully funded by the government. And on top of that, this program facilitates in the development of local milk industry in Malaysia. The Healthy School Meal Program or Program Hidangan Berkhasiat di Sekolah HITS is an initiative by Ministry of Health Malaysia to educate on healthy eating in school. The enrollment into this program is on the voluntary basis and funded by the parents. HITS offers a healthy meal package that contribute about 25 to 30% from the total calorie. There are 4 cycles of nutritious meals and foods are served during recess time. The concept was first introduced in 2007 in SJKC Ching Kwang Wahyu, Muar Johor, and later it was piloted in 2013 in Sekolah Kebangsaan Setiawangsa, Kuala Lumpur. Let me share with you the implementation of HITS program and how it can instill positive behavior despite healthy eating habits. The video, please.
Saya telah melaksanakan program hidangan berkhasiat sejak 2007. Melalui program ini, murid-murid didedahkan etika pemakanan yang sihat.
Saya mengamalkan pemakanan sihat di sekolah, secara tak langsung takbiat ini dibawa ke rumah. Jadi di rumah anak saya juga mengamalkan pemakanan yang sihat.
Harapan saya dengan pelaksanaan HIT di sekolah ini dan juga di sekolah-sekolah kita yang lain, kita harapkan anak-anak murid kita ini akan mendapat kesihatan yang baik dan seterusnya akan lahir pelajar-pelajar yang cemerlang pada suatu masa.
Ainan, may I remind you, you have about 5 minutes to finish your presentation.
Okay, until March 2020, there are 62 schools implementing HITS, which benefits almost 12,000 students. Next slide. Okay, similar to other school feeding that I have described earlier, the menus developed in boarding schools are based on the nutritional needs of the student. And besides that, it also takes into account the kitchen facilities, the availability of food items and acceptance of the menus. And the menus developed also supporting the national agro-food policy in promoting local produce such as local fruits, vegetables, and fresh water fish. And for meals in the boarding schools, a minimal fee will be charged to the student, and it is based on the family's socio-economic background. Okay, due to COVID-19 pandemic, the MCO has been imposed, which also affect the operation of education institution. And in July 2020, the school has started its operation by stages, starting from upper secondary school. Next slide. Next slide, please. And in conjunction to that, MoE has circulated the school reopening management guide as a reference for school administrators, teachers, and parents pertaining to school reopen. These guides underline several actions that need to be taken by relevant parties, which concern about social distancing, hand hygiene, and new norms such as eating in class and the introduction of school meal concept. Okay, RMT, after the COVID-19, the RMT program has been continued with some modification on the operation. RMT foods are served during recess times, and the students can enjoy their meals together with their classmates. Even the teachers also can enjoy their food with the student in class. And because RMT is a in-school meal program, if the students are absent or the schools are closed due to COVID-19, the children are unable to receive RMT. Before COVID-19, the students in boarding school bring their tray to the buffet area, but due to the pandemic, the new norm is packed foods are served straight to the student. The school reopening management is not compulsory to be abide by the private education institutions. However, these schools are encouraged to refer to the guideline. And the recommendations for private education institutions are similar to public schools. What we can learn from school feeding program, children have their rights to enjoy the highest standard of health. Thus, the school feeding program plays an important role to protect children from unhealthy environment, such as by limiting the accessibility and the availability of unhealthy foods and beverages. School feeding also can improve nutrition of the school children in terms of the quality and the quantity, because the menus developed are based on the national food-based nutritional guidelines. School feeding can enhance local economy and create job opportunities. School feeding can develop short supply chains and support local agriculture. School feeding also contribute to countries' social protection by acting as a social safety net. It reduces the impact of economic burden on vulnerable groups and ensure food and nutrition security. School feeding indirectly motivate healthy eating habits among the school children, teachers, school communities through learning experiences. School feeding also exposed to teachers and canteen operators on new knowledge and skills. Lastly, school feeding comes with a cost. It requires sustainable domestic budgetary support. Take-home message: schools offer a unique opportunity to improve nutritional status of the school children. Looking at school as a food system, it has a great potential to improve nutrition. School feeding that comes together with other nutrition interventions have possible nutrition outcomes to the school children, their families, teachers, and school communities. And stakeholders should be informed and encouraged to play their roles in creating a supportive environment towards healthy eating. I think that's all my sharing. Thank you. Terima kasih, and enjoy the next sharing.
Thank you, Ms. Ainan. That was perfect timing. And thank you for the clear and informative presentation. It's very encouraging to know that parents and schools are receptive to the school feeding program. Now, dear friends and colleagues, if you have any questions for Ms. Ainan, please use the Google form from the link provided by the host. And now, I would like to invite our second speaker, Mr. Joko Stio Sudjatmoko. Let me introduce Mr. Joko. He is an organizational analyst at the Directorate of Primary School, Directorate General of Early Childhood Education, Primary Education and Secondary Education, Ministry of Education and Culture of the Republic of Indonesia, Jakarta. Friends and colleagues, today we welcome Mr. Joko to share his experiences about school feeding in Indonesia. Mr. Joko, please begin your presentation.
Thank you, Professor Safiah, as a moderator of our webinar. First, good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. first opportunity in this webinar, and second, maybe can I have my slides start? Okay, I would like to present school feeding program in Indonesia. We usually say call it PROGAS, Program Gizi Anak Sekolah. Next slide, please. My presentation, my outline presentation would be brief. First is a brief introduction on health, nutrition, potential risk factor, and existing school-based food and nutrition policies. Second, exploration on school feeding program. The third, the lesson learned from the school feeding program. And the last one is take-home messages. Next, please. In the next slide, I would like to show a general profile of Indonesia. Indonesia has population around 268 million and consists of around 17,000 islands, 34 provinces, and 514 districts. And for the schools, especially primary school students, we have around 24 million students. And for the teacher, it's around 1.4 million primary school teachers. And the amount of the primary schools is 149,045. Next, please. The next slide is about health research or survey. We have waste nutrition problem. It's about wasting. It's around 11%, stunting problem, obesity problem, and anemia problem. And we can see in the slide, it's in the 5 to 12 years children. And we have also 89% of population age 10 years old have insufficient vegetable and fruit consumption. 20% children eat less than 3 times a day. And 20% children goes to school without a breakfast. And age consume low quality of breakfast. Next, please. Yes, so here we can see the problems about wasting, obesity, anemia, stunting, insufficient vegetable and fruit consumption, and student goes to school without breakfast. Next, please. The potential risk factor that students have difficulty in learning. Students are sleepy in the class. Students are often sick. Students don't attend to the class. Students get low mark. And the risk factors is about poverty, parents' education, community, and culture. Next slide, please. Yes. Come to the school feeding policies. We have several policies here from the President Instruction number 1, 2011 about healthy life movement. And the other one, we have the policy strategy in nutrition. And we have also the fourth ministry regulation or policy. It is between the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry of Religion. It is about the school health unit. It is organized or a unit that is in the school that help the school to care the children healthy. And the school feeding or progress is support in UKS or school healthy unit. We can see the other policies down in the slide. Next, please. Yeah, we come to the school feeding in Indonesia that we call Program Gizi Anak Sekolah. It start 2016 until 2019. We have another similar program before it, like PMTAS. It's additional food program. But we will explain the program is progress in this presentation. The next slide, please. Yes, in brief, progress or nutrition program for school students is delivered by Ministry of Education of Republic of Indonesia, which is funded by Ministry of Education budget or national budget, what we call APBN. The program allows nutrition intake for students with indication as below. First is deficit nutrition intake. Second, having eating habit less than 3 times a day. And the third one is not having breakfast before school. Next. Yeah. Progress goals we can see here. One is additional nutrition intake. Second, nutrition education to the students. The third one, strengthening character education or character building to the student, especially in the primary school student. And the fourth one is strengthening PHBS. PHBS we call healthy habit in the school. We have strengthened its habits. The number 5 is increasing school committee roles, especially in school feeding. The 6th is increasing community participation. Next slide. And here we can see this progress strategy. First is education, second habituation, third is participation. Education is about nutrition and physical. The habituation is good hygiene practices in the school. And also habituation in strengthening character education. The participant that we strengthen is school member should be involved or asked to participate. Also the community around the school. Next slide, please. Yes, here we can see in the slide the progress objective. The general objective of progress is improve the behavior on a clean and healthy lifestyle, nutrition intake, and the ability to learn in effort to form the Indonesian healthy children character, smart, productive, and competitive. And in the down we can see the specific objective of the progress. Next. Yes, so there's 3 components of progress. First is additional nutrition intake through breakfast with balanced nutrition. Second is nutrition education. The third one is strengthening character education. Next slide, please. Yes. Yes, we can see here the link of the nutrition improvement. We work together with the Ministry of Health in nutrition balanced diet, and also with the other ministry and organization, like also with SEAMEO RECFON too.
Mr. Joko, may
yes.
I remind you, you have 5 minutes before the end of your presentation.
Okay, thank you. The next slide, please. This is the design. We have guidelines. We have also menus of the recipe of the foods. Next slide, please. This is the connection between the school health units with the progress. So the progress support school health unit. Next, please. This is in the scheme of the integrated progress scheme. We involved all the stakeholders to support the progress program. Next, please. This is the principle of progress nutrition food. We can see there are students eating and the committee cook and other things and community. Next, please. This is the progress partnership. We just said before that we have SEAMEO RECFON involved, help us to support this program. Also, WFP, University, District, Kargil, and etc. Next, please. This is coordination between the central government and the district to support the program. Next. This is progress target. You can see the amount of the student. Next. Next, please. This is the target in the map. Next. And the sustainability strategy progress. This is progress is stimulant, and we hope the district can replicate the program. Next. Next, please. This is the district that will replicate the program. Kupang, Jayapura, and etc. Next. Also, we have the independent progress that will school and parent collaboration in progress program. Next. Progress nutritious meal. Next, please. This is, we can see the student. Next. We have a short of time. This is the menu, example of the menu we can see. The next slide. Nutrition education. Next slide, please. This is, we have also many books that support the nutrition education. Next. This is example of the food recipes. Next, please. You can go. Next. The character education. We can washing and queuing in the class. Next. This is integration of the character building. You can, next presentation, next slide. Next, please. This community participation also we involve them. And next, this is increasing. We can see the school committee roles. Next. This is also community participation when developing a fish pond and school garden. Next. This is also involving farmer who supply the school program, school progress program. Next. And next again. This is the progress result and achievement. This more motivation, school, more knowledge, and improve in student concentration and other things. You can see the progress result here. Next. And we can see his how the program are implemented in the COVID pandemic. Many programs in Ministry of Education are changed or refocused because the COVID-19 pandemic. Most schools have stopped face-to-face learning in the class. Most of the students have distant learning from their home. And Ministry of Education giving grants aid for sanitation, hygiene, PHPS or CTPS in the school. Next, please. This is a lesson learned. We can see school feeding improves student health, knowledge, and nutrition character. School feeding also need collaboration, all stakeholders. School feeding also need to be good management, yeah. And different schools have different conditions, so they have to innovate or change the program and optimizing the school garden. The next, please. Next slide, please. Take home message for the webinar. Breakfast is important for the student before the lesson start because it can improve student health, concentration, and student attendance. Standard operation procedure of food handling in school feeding is needed. Collaboration between other institutions in the school feeding is also needed. School feeding can be integrated with other activities. School can modify meal menu for their student. Next. Yes, this is the beautiful Indonesia. That's maybe my presentation. Thank you very much, Professor Safiah, for your time. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Dr. Joko, for the interesting presentation. I'm happy to know that the Ministry of Education has taken the lead in the school feeding program in Indonesia. And I must commend your ministry for the efforts to involve the community around the school as well in this program. Congratulations. And dear friends and colleagues, the participants who are here today, if you have any questions for Mr. Joko, please use the Google form from the link provided by the host. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite our third speaker, Professor Namiko Adachi. Professor Namiko is an associate professor at the School of Nutritional Science, Nagoya University of Arts and Science, Aichi, Japan. She is teaching nutrition education and food and nutrition ecology at the university. She conducts studies on the theory and practice of food and nutrition education and promotion. She acts as the chairperson for the committees on food and nutrition education and promotion. She also manages the food and nutrition education program in the communities. Professor Namiko's field of study is food and nutrition ecology, nutrition education, and community nutrition. She has authored on and co-authored many publications related to her field of study, including those related to the school meal program. She is one of the authors for 3 textbooks for dietitians and has translated 2 English academic books to Japanese. Her previous work experience includes being a dietitian at various institutions, working for the Board of Education, where she managed the school lunch program for middle school, And she also worked for the Central Planning Department, Prime Minister's Office, Kingdom of Tonga, as well as a dietitian for Japan Overseas Cooperative Volunteer. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Namiko Adachi.
Thank you for introduction, Professor Safiah. So, I'm Namiko Adachi, an Associate Professor of Nagoya University of Arts and Sciences. So it's a real honor for me to deliver a lecture here today. Today, to make my explanation easy to understand, I will be using many slides, and these are today's topics. The first is dietary transition and history of school lunch in Japan. The second is the School Lunch Act, and the third is the current status of school lunch in Japan. So this is the history of school lunch in Japan. So it is said school lunch had started since 1889. The aim for school lunch has changed from for poor pupil to for food and education or promotion. I'd like to explain the background. After World War II, Japan's food situation was in crisis. In response, economic aid from the United States increased, including the importation of large amount of wheat. Changes in Japanese society after World War II have significantly altered how people worked, where they lived, and what foods were available to them on a daily basis. Later, because of large-scale procurement for Korean War, the Japanese economy recovered to level before World War II. The food shortage problem was also solved by this time. So it is said PFC balance in 1980s was the best. Food self-sufficiency ratio declined to 38% from 79%. Throughout this time, the workforce shifted to industrial jobs from agriculture. People moved to cities from farms and villages. Nuclear families, two-income families, and business bachelor also increased. At the same time, new pollution and food contamination issues began to arise. The electric refrigerator became popular along with the appearance of the supermarket. This made it possible to eat fresh vegetable, fish and meat, milk, soft drink, beer, and so on anytime. Also at this time, city gas and propane gas became more popular, and being available anytime made it easy to cook Western style or Chinese style food. Now, individuals at home could not only roast, but also fry in oil and saute easily. Incidentally, the electric rice cooker and other appliances reduced working hours, housewives, and urged the social advancement of the woman. Japan's population reached about 127 million in 2010, but 94 million in 1960. At present, however, the population is decreasing. The population is also rapidly aging, and the number of single elderly householders is increasing. the rate of eating out and having ready-made meals increased sharply from 1975 to around 1955. It is important to remember that the expansion of restaurant chain brings with it a uniformity of cooking technique and tend to affect the use of oil and fat. After 1955, ready-made meal rates continued to increase, but eating out didn't. The rate of children eating alone has especially increased. As a result, the demand for instant food has come to occupy a big position in the present diet. The breakfast skipping rate has seen an overall increase since 1999 in both male and female until 2011, when it began to decline. But about that school children has seen increase since 2012. Before World War II, the per capita rice consumption was 160 kilo, but slumped to below half of that at 71 kilo in 1986. The percentage of energy derived from grains went down. Now, more bread is eaten at breakfast than rice. What is more, the intake of iron and salt has increased to lower levels than 1946. The highest energy intake was reached in 1970 and has on the downward trend since, but the PFC balance did not change so much. Calcium intake, same as protein, increased after World War II, but began to decrease. After about 1975, total calcium intake has never reached 600 milligrams per day. Under these circumstances, health and nutrition issues have shifted from malnutrition being the main issue in the past to obesity now being the main primary concern. So next, I'd like to talk about the School Lunch Act. The School Lunch Act was established in 1954 and it was revised 2009. I'd like to explain about 7 goals of school lunch program. The first is promote the maintenance and enhancement of health through appropriate nutrition. This is the basis of school lunch nutritional standards. They were formulated taking into account the result of the school children's dietary life survey and the circumstances survey based on the 2010 edition of the Dietary Reference Intake for Japanese. The second is that there is a nutrition teacher at school and they are educating or promoting food and nutrition. There are 6,488 nutrition teachers in Japan now, but there are about 28,000 elementary and junior high schools in Japan. I mean, only 23% of schools have a nutrition teacher. This system is still middle of developing. We have to show the evidence nutrition teacher is necessary. The third is that So children of a duty are serving for other classmates. The fourth is promote a strong understanding of the fact that a dietary life is based in the blessing of nature and cultivate a spirit that respects life and nature, and develop an attitude that contributes to environmental conservation. That's the fifth. So this picture is children are visiting their school kitchen. The sixth is that. So this is our school lunch at the Dole Girls Festival in March 3rd. We are used to eat scattering sushi and Japanese clear soup this day. So I'd like to introduce about washoku. So
Professor Namiko, may I remind you, you have 5 minutes before end of your presentation.
Okay. Washoku is a social practice based on the essential spirit of the Japanese people and their respect for nature. There are 4 defining characteristics of washoku. The washoku diet includes a staple food along with a traditional 1 soup and 3 dishes, and is an ideal menu for maintaining health and longevity. The seventh and last is that, so they are producer or farmer of the ingredients of school lunch. Children are questioning about food to them. And I'd like to explain about the current status of school lunch. So there are 3 providing methods: a meal, dishes, and milk, and only milk. This is executing rate. Most of them are provided as a meal. This is the charge. And for children, for economically underprivileged families, a support system is established for each municipality. There are 4 operation systems: conventional system, commissary system, parent-child system of school lunch, and the delivery system. There are menus: staple food, soup, main dish, and milk. Staple food is rice, bread, and noodle. Kitchen are 2 types. Single school joint cooking station are like this. This is a joint cooking station. Ingredients come in there and go to school, and after school lunch, dishes come back from school and be washed. Children of 11% is allergic to food. There are about 40% is allergic to egg, 22% is milk, and 12% is wheat. It's cooked for the child allergic to foods separately. And we have standards of school lunch hygiene management manual issued by the government. We must follow it. Next, this is the circulation process of rice from rice producer, agriculture cooperative, rice processing factory, school lunch association, and school. And that is bread. Wheat has 2 types. One is growing in prefecture 100%, and another is imported wheat 80% and grown in the prefecture 20%. That of noodle, They are made of wheat imported 80% and grown in the prefecture 20%. And that of milk, and that's very simple. And that of another food stuff from a food company or a food wholesaler to school lunch association, a local farmer or local grocery and school. Next, I'd like to talk about during the COVID-19 pandemic. Schools were closed from March to May in Japan. Food supply chain of school lunch is different from general food, like I said. So a large amount of food were disposed. But some of food was sold inexpensively and given to another facility. Delivering a meal by kitchen car for children instead of school lunch, and diverting wheat for school lunch to bread for selling. And from June, a school has started, but only teachers must be serving. The number of dishes was reduced to reduce trouble of setting the table, and children are eating without talking. Anyway, school lunch in Japan has a long history. I think that has pros and cons. After World War II, children's physique have been improved very much. But now, food loss and waste are a big problem. I think school lunch in Japan will change for the future. I hope it would be sustainable, healthy lunch. And we have International Congress of Nutrition at Tokyo in next year. I'm looking forward to meeting you there. Thank you for your understanding. I'm sorry that we didn't have time to go into much detail today, but I hope that this overview is helpful. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Namiko, for the detailed, actually, and interesting presentation. So we know that Japan has started the school program much earlier than us. And it is mandatory for schools to provide meals when the children are in school. So that explains the excellent health and nutritional status the Japanese are enjoying now. And dear friends and colleagues who are present in this webinar, if you have any questions for Professor Namiko, please use the Google form from the link provided by the host. And our next speaker is Dr. Luadi Ari Wiradnyani. Dr. Luadi is currently the Manager of Community Development and Partnership of SEAMEO RECFON. Her main responsibilities are coordinating the implementation of two flagship programs of RECFON, which is Nutrition Goes to School program and Early Childcare and Nutrition Education in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. She is also coordinating the partnership of RECFON with other institutions at the national, regional, and global level. They aim to improve the nutritional status and nutrition-related practices of the population. Dr. Luadi has an impressive CV. She has a doctorate in nutrition from the Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia. She has attended many trainings, both locally at international levels, including one on capacity building on adolescent health and nutrition in Indonesia, organized by the University of Sydney. There, she was the recipient for the Australian DFAT scholarship in 2017. That is among other several awards she obtained during her career. Her focus area in research is mainly for adolescent and school children, maternal and child nutrition. She has She has numerous publications about her work in peer-reviewed international journals. She has been a consultant for several nutrition initiatives, the latest being the development of balanced nutrition messages for adolescents and school-age children, in collaboration with PGS, AUSR, and Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition from October 2018 to May 2019. Dear friends and colleagues, it is my pleasure now to invite Dr. Luh Ade.
Thank you very much, Professor Safiah, for the introductions. I'm very happy today. Should I say good morning, everyone? I will be presenting kind of similar with the previous three presenters about having meal at school, but the scheme is a bit different because the foods are brought from home by the students. So can I have my slide presented? Yeah, thank you. Next slide, Tahir. Okay. The outline of my presentations consists of five main points about the breakfast, the importance and the profile in Southeast Asia, and then experiential learning, because bringing food from home is so much into experiential learning, and how the practice have been observed in Southeast Asia as well as from the NGTS school. And as the closing, I will be also sharing the lesson learned on what works based on the NGTS schools implementations of this issue. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, so it has been discussed previously the importance of breakfast, especially for school children and adolescents, in addition to the benefit in terms of nutrition and energy supply to go through the day, as well as to building a character, especially in terms of discipline, to wake up early, to do the good time management, to prevent the morning rush everybody usually experience in the morning. And one study also shared that having breakfast is associated with a lower risk of overweight and obesity, because those who skip breakfast tend to have excessive snacking during the tea break as well as during lunch. So I want to highlight the one in the blue color, that good breakfast is about two things, the regularity as well as the quality. Next, please. These are some studies about the breakfast habit in Southeast Asia country, but the data is not always necessarily available for all countries. So this is what I got so far. Very happy to see that in Myanmar as well as in Malaysia, around 70% students always have breakfast every day. So it's very good. A bit lower proportion is observed in Indonesia, only 55%. And then in the Philippines, 20% adolescents have their regular meal here, including breakfast, lunch, as well as dinner. Next here. Okay, I would like to also present, I got these pictures, these lovely photos from various sources in Google. I chat with my friends in Southeast Asia countries. So what are the typical breakfasts in their respective country? And I try to find a photo. So we can see here that we share some common foods like rice, because Southeast Asia is really a rice eater. So either rice or fried rice or also sticky rice in some country. And in Singapore, for example, they more into a quick breakfast. So they will go for cereals and milk, or sometimes they have bread, or we can see here also rice noodle with some soup is also among the common typical breakfast in Southeast Asia, as well as porridge. For the table, it is a detailed explanations about the foods. I will not go through it one by one, but I want to highlight the ones in the blue box. The common practice we can see among school children and adolescents in Southeast Asia, that for breakfast, they either have it at home before they go to school, or they buy the foods on the way to the school and have it at the school later, or they buy foods in the school canteen for children whose school managed to have the foods ready early in the morning, or they just skip it. Next slide. Okay. When I do the internet searchings, there are some articles that highlight the celebrations of National Breakfast Day in some country, but I cannot confirm whether it is an official one. But based on my discussion with some colleagues in Southeast Asia, most of them say they never heard about it. So it seems that the celebration is not an official celebration. While in Indonesia, we do have what we call as National Breakfast Week in 14 until 20 February. So the abbreviation is PESAN. PESAN is literally means message. Next, please. Okay, I will go to this experiential learning. So studies show that when we try to introduce or we want to build a character, we want to build a practice, the approaches that give biggest impact on student behavior are the one that where teachers modeling the health behavior, the positive one, and when the activities offer the children opportunity to engage with food in many ways, for example, cooking or creating the menu, tasting the food, or the children participate in the activity that demonstrate what is taught, so they know how the knowledge later on is translated into a practice. An active, can we go? Okay. The active engagement of the students is also an important part because we should give them opportunity to take charge during the learning and then something that learners can relate. So it should be something that very close to their daily activity. Next, please. Good. These are examples of some quite common experiential learning approach done by many researchers, like for example, cooking class, food tasting, school garden, food journalist, and the last one is the one that we will be discussing soon is having meal together at school. Next, please. Okay. So before I enter to the main experience of the NGTS school, I want to have one slide explaining why school children and adolescents usually skip breakfast. First is, as we can predict, it's all about a morning rush to go to the school. So it is reported by many students, many teachers, as well as many parents. And the second one is they just don't get used to it. Because they are so familiar with skipping breakfast, so they just don't think that it is important. And the last one is about students prefer to have snacking with friends later on at the school. So because they just enjoy being with friends and having a simple chit chat while snacking by buying some food from the school canteen. Next, please. Okay, so this is about bringing food from home. I could not find any official information or scientific studies about bringing food from home in Southeast Asia, but I'm fortunate to have an opportunity to dig some information from some friends from Thailand, the Philippines, Laos PDR, Myanmar, Vietnam, Singapore, and Malaysia. So these are some of the summary points. First is, in general, the practice is not common because students usually buy foods in school canteen or they have lunch at home after school. But in two countries, in Myanmar and Laos PDR, bringing food from home is quite common. And then in Malaysia, our colleague shared that it is not common, but some children who have a specific dietary requirement or students who will attend the Quran recital after school, they usually bring food from home. And I also get insights that in some country, the private schools provide lunch and it has been included in the school fee. So that's why bringing food from home is not common. While Thailand and the Philippines and Vietnam share that maybe we can see some this practice in private school rather than public schools because they have school feeding programs. So the school are provided at the school, either free of charge or the parents have to pay for the food. But I want to highlight that the meal brought by the students from home is mostly for lunch, not for breakfast. Because for breakfast, as I mentioned before, they will have it at home, or they will have some snacking in the morning, or they just keep it. Next, please. Okay, so in Indonesia, there are what we call as Hari Bawa Bekal Nasional. So I don't know whether my term is correct. So I translate it as the National Bring Your Own Food Day. So it is celebrated every 12th of April, started in 2013. The initiation is from a private company, but then it got endorsement, acknowledgement from the government, especially the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health. If you see here, the poster, it is from the Ministry of Education explaining about the 4 main benefits of bringing food from home. Next, please. These slides, I want to share that the celebrations of the National Bring Your Own Food Day in the social media is quite interesting, coming from the ministries, educational institutions, television provider, private companies, as well as personal social media account. As we know that social media is very powerful to disseminate information, and then when it goes viral, so it can create a movement. So it is about something positive, so the social media power is very beneficial. Next, please. Oh, sorry for this. Okay, so in this slide, is still related with the Hari Bawa Bekal Nasional. We can see here that some district education office, provincial education office also encourage the schools within their area to also implement the bringing food from home. So we see here some of the news appear in the internet about the endorsement, the encouragement coming from the education authorities in some area in Indonesia. Next, please. Okay, when we talk about bringing food from home, there are some challenges that usually come up as the first response, either from the schools as well as from the parents. First is about the tight school schedule. So the school is wondering how they can integrate the breakfast session at school, especially because the school starts in the morning. And then the second challenge is resistance from parents because of practicality, because many parents are working, and also resistance from students, again, about practicality and because they are just not familiar with this. Home family economic condition is also one of the challenges, as well as other technical issues like, for example, where to have that and then how to manage the activity at school. Next, please. Okay, so I will be sharing the experiences coming from the NGTS school. NGTS, Nutrition Goes to School, is one of the flagship program of SEAMEO RECFON, and then it highlighted the role of the schools as effective media to build a character, including the character of having a good nutrition habit, both in school and at home. So the target group is an elementary, junior, and senior high schools. The framework is we want to target all the demand side, the supply side, policy information system, policy as well as the information system. All in all, we work together to facilitate the adoptions of a good nutrition habit at schools from the school community. Next, please. Okay. If you see the pictures here, it explains the stages of the NGTS implementations. If you see the second box, the orientation stage, the second stage, the schools will join some capacity building activities. And at the end of the capacity building, every school is requested to create their action plan. And usually having meal together will be among one of the action plan that the schools created. And as mentioned earlier by Dr. Mukhtar, the director of SEAMEO RECFON, the implementation of NGTS have been done in some areas in Indonesia, and some initiation in Southeast Asia countries have been started. But implementation at the school level so far has been done in Indonesia, not yet in other countries in Southeast Asia. So therefore, the experiences there in my today's presentations is the ones from the NGTS schools in Indonesia. Next, please. Okay, I will start with this. If we see these pictures, I always feel so happy to see how the school children and adolescents enjoy their food at the school together with their friends. Next, please. Okay, so I will start with the arrangement, because one of the main questions is more coming from the school is about how to arrange this session at school, how it is possible. So the experience from the NGTS schools, they share that the arrangement mostly they have breakfast. So this is breakfast session, not the lunch session. Together at the schools, students are requested to bring food from home. So about the place, they can have it either in the classroom managed by the home-based teacher, or they can also have it in the class aisle, right outside the class, or in the schoolyard to have a more fun, and they will meet their friends from other classes, or combinations of like variations of activity, because every venue have a different arrangement and different challenges. Yeah, to have the session in the schoolyard, it needs many teachers to help to manage the students, to arrange the students, because usually the time is quite limited. So especially for the elementary school children, they really need a guidance to go to the schoolyard and make it efficient. Next, please.
Would you like to conclude? You have a few minutes left for your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So if we see here, this is the nice sessions in the schoolyard. Next, please. And this is the fun moment in the classroom. It also still be fun in the classroom. Well, the schedule is usually 30 minutes, and it can be part of the existing school agenda in the morning, or they can add sessions once a week, so the students come earlier than the starting of the learning hours. Next, please. What food to bring? It can be any meal with encouragement to have a balanced nutrition, or meal with theme and also drinking water. Who bring the foods? The students, or it can be arranged as a class-based food. Next, please. Okay, the coordinations, it is under the unit, a school health program. In Indonesia, we have a school health program. So the health-related program of the school this is the entry point. The information to parents, usually during the parents meeting or in the WhatsApp group, or they inform the students to inform their parents. And so far, the response are so good from the parents. Next. Okay, I want to highlight what is good about bringing food from home. This is from the voices of the teachers and students. First, it is fun because it creates togetherness and they learn from actions. They say it is fun as well. And the school feels so proud to take part to introduce healthy habits to the students. It also builds character in terms of disciplines and then knowledge-ing. They bring back the local values, bringing food from home and also having potluck. It is local values in some Indonesians, and trigger good communication at home between students and parents, and building social skill because they share foods with their friends who happens to come from a less resources family, and trigger creativity to create catchy abbreviation for the event. Next, please. And it will be, can you do, it's a bit quick because it's only the photos or some of the activities. Next, please. Okay, no littering, the traditional potluck in some of the schools, and togetherness among the teachers. Next, please. Okay, there are three main reported challenges. Some students didn't bring the meal, or in some schools, the activities are implemented not for all grades, and also some students bring less balanced meal, usually no fruits or lack of variety of foods. Next, please. Another challenge is pandemic. So during pandemics, because students learn from home, so what the schools can do is to encourage the students to have breakfast at home and send the photos, or they also encourage the students to have home garden with vegetables that are easy to grow and later on will be consumed by the students. Next. Okay, I will close my presentations about the lesson learned on what works. First is a good coordination of the school community, the teachers in the NGTS team, as well as other teachers and also the school principals. The second is good socialization to parents. Third is be flexible in terms of the venue and what food to bring. The fourth, do not criticize the students' meal. So let them enjoy and familiar with the breakfast habit first. Teachers and school principals join the breakfast sessions and get the students involved. And it's also important to arrange the event as fun moment, like for example, give catchy name for the event, like a catchy acronym. Use specific term, and sometimes if it is feasible to do some simple competitions. Include the local value and also bring extra food for those who is from less resources families. Next one, I think I will just skip this. Acknowledgement to some of the schools in the NGTS schools, and the last slide will be the reference list I am using for these presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Luh Adi, for your excellent presentation and giving us an insight of the school feeding programs across Southeast Asian countries, as well as the NGTS program. I really like the Hari Bekal Nasional that motivates the community to give importance of having proper meals in school. And dear friends and colleagues who are present in this webinar, if you have any questions for Dr. Adi, please use the Google form from the link provided by the host. Thank you. Now we come to the Q&A session. Can you make it bigger, please? I cannot see really the text. Yes, we have a question related to school feeding program to Ms. Ainan from Kat from Sochetra in Cambodia. The question is, how do you make sure the food is healthy and not harm to the children? Is there any organization responsible on quality assurance? And there was one question from IMU Indonesia. Are parents involved in the preparation for the school feeding program, for example, preparing and cooking for the students, or is it organized by the third party? This is the question for Ms. Ainan. Okay. There's another question from Lailatul Makfudutin Indonesia to Dr. Joko Stio Sudjatmoko. Does the Ministry of Education and Culture provide meals for children that are delivered to their home during pandemic COVID-19?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can I
Did you-
answer now or?
Yes, you can, of course.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to Ms. Lailatul Mahfudatin from Indonesia. Your question is, does the MoH still provide meals for children that are delivered to their home during pandemic COVID-19? I think we are in Ministry of Education and Culture. We have so many many programs that have been changed, and we have to refocus in handling the COVID pandemic. So the grant or the aid from ministry focus on sanitation or health in the school. I mean the health sanitation through the to handle the pandemic, I think. So at this moment, the providing meals for the children is not exist at this moment. Perhaps in the future there will be another program, I think. Maybe I think that is my answer, Prof. Safiah. So,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joko, for your explanation. There is one question from Ilmiah Indonesia to Professor Namiko Adachi and Ms. Ainan. The question is, for the school feeding program in Japan and Malaysia, is there any dietitian or nutritionist who is involved or in charge for each school?
すみませんが、足立先生、こちらは訳してもよろしいでしょうか。
Yeah, Professor Namiko's answer will be translated.
Yes, okay. To ensure that the foods are healthy and the standard menus are developed by nutritionists, and we consider the nutritional requirements that needed by the school children. And we do not have nutritionists placed in school, but we have nutritionists that goes to school on monitoring purpose.
Thank you, Ainan, for your explanation. Can we have a translation for me, Professor Namiko's answer, please?
足立先生、日本では学校の教職のプログラムに、栄養士っていますか、いませんか、そういう説明いただければよろしいでしょうか。
2つ種類があります。
In Japan, there's two types of this program.
一つが栄養教諭といって、栄養士の免許はもちろん持っていますが、栄養教諭という人がいます。あと栄養職員、学校栄養職員と という人がいて、その人ももちろん栄養士です。
それはダイエテ2つありますということは、ダイエティシャンのこととヌトリショニストのことなんでしょうか？
一つは教員の免許を持っている。
There's two who involved in this program. The first one who has license as a nutritionist.
そしてもう一つは栄養士の免許だけ持っている職員が学校に働いています。
Another one is person who in charge only have license for work in the school. こちらどうですか？
はい、未職員の人が携わっています。
So there are two types of person in charge for this program. The first one who have the full license of the nutritionist, and the one who has license to in charge for the school feeding program in Japan.
Thank you, Prof Namiko, for your answer, and thank you, Salvi, for the excellent interpretation.
Thank you.
The next question is related to school feeding to Ms. Ainan from Kat, Cambodia. The question which I read earlier. The question is, how do you make sure the food is healthy and not harm to the children? Is there any organization responsible on quality assurance? And the second question for Ms. Ainan is, are the parents involved in the preparation for the school feeding program and cooking for the students? Is it organized by the third party? Ms. Ainan, would you like to answer that?
Okay, I will answer the first question. Actually, in terms of healthy eating, the nutritionist or the nutrition division are taking care of the quality of foods that so that it is meet the nutritional requirement. And regarding the prevention of food poisoning, under the Ministry of Health, we have a division, Food Safety and Quality Division, that's looking into this specifically. And for second questions, are parents involved in the preparation of school feeding? Yes, for kids program or hidangan berkhasiat di sekolah, there are out of 62 schools that are implementing HITS, some of the schools, the foods are prepared by the ibu penyayang, by the parents to the children. And but most of the school feeding food are prepared by the contractor or the food canteen operators.
Thank you, Ms. Ainan, for the answer. And there's one more question from Lailatul Makfudutin, Indonesia, to Dr. Luh Adi. How to increase the desire of children in trying new food, especially healthy food, as sometimes children are reluctant to eat vegetables and fruit. Very true. Dr. Adi?
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions. Yeah, I have also have discussed this with some teachers. One of the ways that they use is actually we have to see first why they reluctant to eat vegetables and fruits. Some really don't like the taste of the vegetables, but some they say they don't want to have vegetables. It's not because they don't like it, but actually it's simply because they never taste it. So when I ask some of the students, they say they don't like vegetables A, B, C, and when I try whether have you tasted it, they say no. So they just never try it. So what they do from the schools is first, sometimes they use the themes. Like for example, for the next sessions of breakfast, the theme is about spinach on my plate, for example. So every children have to bring spinach. And then when because they see their friends also bring spinach, and they will, first maybe they are forced to consume that. So later on they will just realize that it's not that bad, quote unquote, yeah. So that's a good start for the students. But for the fruit, usually in Indonesia, the reason is not because they don't like the taste, but because fruit is considered a bit expensive, and therefore it is less prioritized for family who have a bit limited resources. So in that case, what the schools do is they make a group in a class. So there are some, the class are divided by some small groups, and there will be some group who is in charge to bring fruits. So that's where they come up with they try to cope with the challenges in terms of the resources to buy the fruits. So by sharing money coming from, like, for example, 5 students, they able to bring the fruits. And for the school children coming from primary schools, sometimes they give reward, the very simple reward. They just give the students like a sticker, a star, for those who willing to eat vegetables. So for primary school children, although it is a simple reward, a star, it is very meaningful. They love it. So it's like encouragement for them to try to eat the vegetables. So that's my answer, Prof. Safiah.
Thank you, Dr. Adi, for your explanation. Well, we have another round of questions. This is for Ms. Ainan from Ilmiah, Indonesia. The question is, are the school feeding program, which is the RMT, the school milk and the HITS, for both public and private school, or only public school? And another question from Laila too. Is the school feeding in Malaysia available to all students, or just certain students who are eligible for school meals? Ms. Ainan, would you like to answer that?
Yes. Okay, I'm answering the first question. So the RMT or HITS and school meal program are currently in public schools. But however, in private schools or international schools, there are also school meal program, but it is not called as HITS or RMT or school meal program. RMT and school meal is a food aid program, and it is provided to students from the vulnerable group or the hardcore poor groups. Is it, I'm answering the questions?
Yeah, I think so.
Both questions, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You have answered both questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ainan. Next question is from Nikmah Hutawi Dewi, Indonesia, to Joko. Mr. Joko, the first question is, what are the challenges in implementing PROGAS in Indonesia? And the second question is, how the ministry take into account some limitations in PROGAS, such as children tend to take food given in the program as a breakfast, not as additional food as it should be. And the snack provided still contain high carbohydrate with minimum vegetables and fruits, less involving school canteen owner. Mr. Joko, would you like to answer those 2 questions?
Okay, thank you to Ms. Nikma Utami Devi. Maybe I will answer first the first question. What are the challenges in implementing PROGAS in Indonesia? I think one of them is the national budget. We cannot cover all the students, all the school, so we have a priority in choosing the need area, the need student to have the progress. So the priority we have a challenge. And another one that we have the district. I mean district. We have to more work together with the district, so they can allocate their budget to implement progress by their budget. The second question is how the ministry take into account some limitation progress, such as children take food given in program, not as additional food. Is we have promoting in school to school that how to have a better nutrition food to the school, so the school can also teach or promote them to their student. And we have also like a seminar for the teachers, and we give them material about the nutrition, good nutrition, and other things. So we have promotion and also technical assistant to the teacher. And the teacher can teach the student later. Maybe is that answer the question?
Yes, I think so, Mr. Joko.
Okay.
Well explained. The next question is from Mr. or Ms. Mujahidin Agus, Indonesia, to Professor Namiko Adachi. The question is, would you like to inform us about the board who conduct the Sustainable Nutrition Program in Japan and how their effort to engage the other government institutions to be involved? Professor Namiko?
デシ先生、日本で、持続可能な栄養プログラムを実施しているのは誰でしょうか。そして他の政府機関とどのように関わっているのかを教えてくださいませんか。
これから特に持続可能な食事に力を入れていくことになると思います。まだそんなに持続可能な食事については取り組まれていない。で、まずじゃあそれをまずじゃあ。
At this moment in Japan, actually there's no one who conduct the Sustainable for the Nutrition program.
そして
はい、but is still in the plan.
はい。で、これから文部科学省とあと農林水産省が連携しながら進めていくことになると思います。
For the next plan, we will engage the Ministry of Education, Mambuka-Gakusho, and Ministry of Agriculture of Japan, who will conduct the sustainability of the nutrition program in Japan.
Thank you, Prof. Professor Namiko, for the clear explanation, and thank you, Selvi, for the excellent translation. The next question is to Dr. Luadi from Nikma Hutami Dewi, Indonesia. How to deal with children from food insecure household with this program? And there's another question from A. Dedi Kennedy, Indonesia. How to make in handling the nutrition of the underprivileged people at school so that the assistance we provide can help. Dr. Adi?
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Safiah, for the first questions. How to deal with children from food insecure household with this program? Yeah, there's also some concern from the schools that they know very much about the conditions of their students, and then they share that sometimes the schools and students are welcome to bring extra foods to be brought on the day and later on to be shared by the friends coming from food insecure household. That first. The second, what they are doing is they try to, we also from RECFON encourage the schools not from the very beginning, not to push so much into a term of like healthy meal, because for some people, healthy food is very interpreted as an expensive food, something which is less affordable, something have consists of meat, chicken, so that's healthy food. So usually the schools try to make a theme with food which is considered affordable in general. Like for example, they ask to bring tempeh and tofu, which is very nutritious, but in general affordable by most people. And also the protein source is egg. So they never try to say that it have to be meat. Although in some schools, that kind of intention we can still see that some teachers really keen to have a very balanced diet every week in their student school meal box. But we keep explaining that as a start, so just let them enjoy the habit first, having food at school. So later on, we will introduce what healthy meal is about, and it's not always necessary the expensive one. So that first, and the second, how to make in handling the nutrition of the underprivileged people, so that the assessment we provide. So I'm not sure I understand the second question, Prof. Safiah. I think you are still mute. Prof. Safiah, you okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think Dr. Adi is similar to the first question,
Yeah.
which is how to deal with the people from underprivileged family, and how can the assistance help? Is there any assistance in this program? Is it based on the family?
Yeah, actually for the like Pak Joko mentioned, for progress in Indonesia, it is a very specific targeted to area where the undernourished prevalence is quite high, and also targeted to the food insecure area. So for that kind of area where most people are coming from less resources family, so progress help so much, yeah, because the government provide the food. But for the other schools who in the area where actually it's a mix between the students coming from food secure and food insecure family, so that's what I have been said before. So far, effort from the NGTS schools, they encourage the affordable but nutritious foods that first, and they encourage also students and teachers to bring extra food during the day, so later on it can be shared with the less the students coming from the less resources family, and also try not to criticize the foods bring by the children. So they are encouraged to bring any foods, while the nutrition education is coming along the way to share that healthy food is not always the one which is expensive.
Yeah.
That's what have been said by the schools, Prof. Safiah.
Yeah, I think that's very clear, Dr. Ari. The main point is that to educate them that the importance of having meals in school. Thank you very much for your answer. And we have a third round of question and answer session. This is from Mujahidin Agus, Indonesia, to Ms. Ainan. Would you like to give more explanation and examples about your statement that the nutrition program at school can increase the community's economic activities around the location? Ms. Ainan? The second question, this is for Mr. Joko, again from Mujahidin Agus, Indonesia. The question is, how can Indonesia make this nutrition program being sustainable activities? Because I have true experience being a SD student who get free milk every week on the 1980s era, but the program was stopped and running just for several months. Nowadays, there is no program like that again, especially in almost all of village areas. Mr. Joko, would you like to answer that?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for Mr. Mujahidin Agus for your question. Your question is about how can Indonesia make this nutrition program being sustainable activities. As we know, we have autonomy era that district and province have more budget where so we can make sustainable activities by we making progress as a stimulant program. So for 1 and 2 years. So we hope and we ask the district to replicate to make progress continue in their district, in their schools by their budget using the district budgets. So, or we can also make independent progress where the school that have committee can deliver or can make progress in the independent progress by their committee budget. So this is the stimulant program, and maybe that is my answer, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Joko, for your answer. We have another question for Dr. Luadi. The question is from Florence L. Bautista, Nova Vizcaya, New Philippines. The question is, can we adapt this learning program on NGTS in our school community, even in this time of pandemic situation? Dr. Luh Ade?
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Safiah. So actually it depends, yeah. In Indonesia, because during pandemic, all of the schools are closed. So it is not feasible to have these sessions together at the school. But what have been doing by most of the school during this pandemic is they encourage, because the students learning from home during using their distance learning, they do it through WhatsApp group, or they do it through like this, yeah, Zoom meeting. And also in some area where they don't have a good access to internet, there are some, they meet face to face, but with the parents in one area to give the assignment and also to get back the assignment. So in this case, what have been doing by the schools is, first, they still encourage the students to practice the healthy habits, like doing exercise in the morning, have a regular breakfast, and the students should take a photo of their breakfast and then send the photo to the students as part of the assignment. And they also encourage the students to try to make a home garden in their own home, and then to plant some of easy to grow vegetables, and then they should take also the pictures of those and then send it to the teacher, as including when they enjoy the vegetable who they grow in their home. So that's so far the alternative done by the schools during the pandemic situations, Prof. Safiah.
Thank you, Dr. Adi. Yes, it is true. During this pandemic, we have to adopt to the current situation, and people can be very creative. And what else to do at home except for home gardens, which produce nutritious vegetables and fruits, right? Thank you for your explanation. Another question to Professor Namiko from Lalatul in Indonesia. Does Japan provide school lunches program or also provide school meals for breakfast? If just lunch, why the government decides to give school meals for lunch instead of breakfast? Professor Namiko.
日本では主にランチだけです。昼食だけしか出してません。で、それはなぜかというと、朝食は家族で食べましょうっていう習慣が根付いているっていうこともあります。だけれど、これから朝食を提供するというプログラムも始まるかもしれません。
Unmute. Oh, sorry. In Japan, they only have lunch program to distribute to the student because they encourage to have breakfast with the family before going to school. But it possible in the future they also provide for breakfast also in breakfast and lunch together at school.
Thank you, Safi, for the explanation.
Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions? So the question and answer session is finished, ladies and gentlemen. And you have posted very, very interesting and very important questions to all the speakers. And I'd like to thank everyone for their participation. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our second session of NGTS webinar. Allow me to thank SEAMEO RECFON for conducting this insightful webinar series and all our distinguished resource persons, as well as honorable participants for your kind attentions today. As it was my pleasure to be the master ceremony for the second Southeast Asia Nutrition Goes to School webinar series, and I apologize profusely if any words that less pleasing to all audience today. In addition, NGTS will conduct the third session on 4th November 2020 with the topic Healthy School Canteen. The fourth session in 18th November 2020 with the topic School Garden and Wash Program. Moreover, in 26th of November 2020, there will be NGTS Solutions webinar that will be held in Bahasa with the theme Pelaksanaan Perilaku Hidup Bersih dan Sehat di Sekolah. We hope to see you again in the next couple weeks for the next sessions. Thank you very much for your attention. My name is Selvi Aprianti Mardiana. Good afternoon.